And let's discuss the attack that happened in Pakistan today. Joining me at the moment is Lieutenant General retired R.K. Sahni as former DG Military Intelligence. Also joining me at the moment is Mr. Ashok Sajjanha, former senior diplomat. Thanks to both of you very much for joining us. Mr. Sajjanha, if I can begin with you first.
Sure.
How deeply rooted do you think this menace of terror is proving to be for Pakistan?
I think it is really a question of willpower as far as Pakistan is concerned, because many of these terrorist groups and organizations have earlier been receiving help and support of Pakistan Army and of Pakistan Intelligence Agency. Actually, terror has been used as a very integral part of the security doctrine of Pakistan in terms of using terror as an instrument of its foreign policy. Whether it was relations with India or it was relations with Afghanistan, when Pakistan was seeking to get strategic depth after the exit of the Soviet Union and the Russian forces at the beginning of the 1990s. So I think it is a question of determining that they want to deal with terrorism in a holistic manner. So far what they have been doing is that there are some terrorist groups who after 2001, when Musharraf sided with the United States after the 9/11 attacks. So these were the terrorist groups like the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which has claimed that it is behind the attack today, or it was behind the attack in December 2014 when the Army Public School was attacked.
Right.
So Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and a large number of other splinter groups like Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, like Haqqani Network, Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, etc. These are all which are fighting the Pakistan state, Pakistan Army. So it has, this is exactly what the Prime Minister, when he went to the United Arab Emirates, when he went to Dhaka and some of the other places, he said that those who are providing sanctuaries to terrorists, they will have to decide that, to stop differentiating between good Taliban, bad Taliban, good terrorist, bad terror. So if Pakistan is able to take this determined position that it is going to fight terrorism, it is going to be much simpler. Because here, the terrorists that it had earlier created itself, they have become Frankensteins, and they have sort of, started biting the same hand that had earlier fed it.
All right. Mr. Sahni, what's your opinion? How challenging the situation is for Pakistan vis-a-vis tackling the menace of homegrown terror?
It's very challenging actually, because when a country decides to use terror as an instrument of state policy and gives shelter, not only shelter funds their existence, they have huge headquarters, they have recruits with whom they sort of take into their fold in a very open fashion. They train them, they give them military training, and some of them who are in patronized almost openly. Actually, ever since the partition, ever since the creation of Pakistan, the Pakistani army has tended to use terrorists as a part and parcel of their armed forces. Like you have artillery armor, they have terrorists. Now this sort of a linkage which is there with the Pakistan army requires to be broken for all times to come. But somehow or the other, every time there are pretensions that they are going to act against all hues of terrorists and wipe them out, but the effort which actually goes into it is half-hearted, and somehow they are more pretentious rather than actual execution. So that's the main problem. Now, for example, these TPP, Afghan Taliban, they have also divided into different parts. Some of them are patronized, and some of them are directed towards Afghanistan. Similarly, for India, there are specific terrorist groups which are unleashed on us. But unfortunately for Pakistan, these people who are living in their midst are started reacting against their own masters. This is what happens if you associate too closely with the terrorists. So there has got to be a attitudinal change, actually, if you ask me. And there is a requirement of wiping out this menace of terrorism in a sincere fashion. It can be, what do you call, it has to start with Pakistan itself, because the sanctuaries exist in their country. And if there is a help required from the region or from the rest of the world, I think there will be no, what do you call, nobody objecting to it. But there is a requirement of sincerity which must come from Pakistan itself.
Sure. Mr. Sajjanha, what you think, the change that needs to be there in Pakistan's approach towards tackling this menace?
You know, as the General was saying, and as I was also mentioning earlier, that basically in terms of the approach that Pakistan, and particularly the Pakistan Army and the ISI has adopted towards India and towards Afghanistan.
Sure.
You know, that is where they use their terrorist groups. That is where, training them, funding them, providing them with equipment, and helping them to come into India and conduct terrorist attacks. You know, the reason for this is that the India policy in Pakistan is controlled by the Pakistan Army. Afghan policy is controlled by the Pakistan Army. The civilian government does not really have a say in that. The nuclear policy, the policy in terms of relations with the United States. So all the major policy framework setup, that is controlled by the Pakistan Army. And the reason for that is that unless they are able to portray India as the enemy, as the hostile country, as the adversary, they will not be able to get all the power and all the perks and the privileges and the benefits. So I think unless there is a change from a military dominated setup there. The other reason, of course, what we can see in terms of the international pressure that is now being applied on Pakistan, because we can see that Islamic State has become very powerful. Islamic State, in terms of their attacks, whether it is in Paris, whether it was in San Bernardino in California, in Indonesia, even on the border with Pakistan, the Jalalabad consulate, which was bombed very recently. So Islamic State has started spreading its tentacles and spreading its area of operation much far and wide. So I think the international community is getting very concerned about this. And in that context, there is much greater political pressure from the international community. So I think from India also we have a conversation, we have a dialogue, and this is the point that I would like to make even post Pathankot, that we continue our dialogue, but we continue the pressure on Pakistan to take action against all those groups, the perpetrators of the attacks here, and in that sense move towards a change of their policy.
Right. Mr. Saini, my last question to you. What's your analysis? Would you say that this attack today, would it be seen as a retaliatory attack?
The attack which has taken place in Peshawar now?
Sorry?
Peshawar.
The attack today, yes.
Did you mean the
Mr.
attack
Sani.
on Peshawar?
Yes, Mr. Sani. Would you say
Yeah,
that?
I think I am General Sani, by the way. I am not Mr. Okay. You see, the point is that the militants, the terrorists, they always try to exert their own power that they have in their country. They want to tell the Pakistan establishment that they cannot be ignored. So whenever they find that they are not getting their due attention and they are being sidelined, they always strike back. So this is one of those strikes. Actually, as the ambassador had very correctly said, that there are signs that, of course, very early signs that Pakistan establishment, at least their civilian establishment, would like to get rid of this menace. But this effort has to come from the Pakistan Army in a very sincere fashion. So unless they do that in a systematic and sincere fashion, and don't discriminate between those terrorists who they use and those who are not under their control anymore, and take concerted campaigns and efforts to wipe out this menace from their territory,
Right.
I think it will not be possible to get rid of this problem.
All right. Mr. Sajjana, you wanted to make a quick point, please.
No, I think just if I could add to what the General has mentioned, that it does appear to be a retaliatory attack because, you know, from the middle of 2014, the Pakistan Army has been conducting what it calls the Zarb-e-Azb operation against the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan
Yes.
and a large number of other groups that have been acting against Pakistan establishment and Pakistan Army. So this, like the December 2014 attack against the Army Public School, and also this, you know, so basically I think even at that time in 2014, what the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan had put out was that the Pakistan Army has been killing our children and our women. So they wanted to kill the children in Pakistan so that, you know, they can also feel the pain when children die, when their own children die. And here also I think it's a case of young people, students and educational institutions which are becoming the target of their attack. You would recall that even Malala Yousafzai was attacked. So I think they, the TTP and the terrorist groups which are acting against Pakistan establishment are against the educational and the sort of progressive forms of society moving forward, and that is what they want to act against. And also,
So is there a need to change the mindset of these terrorists then?
absolutely, absolutely, and mindset, you know, partly in terms of using military and using force, but also providing them with an alternative ideology. Because this is a battle of ideologies. This is not only a battle of through military. And I think that will have to be, that battle of ideology will have to be fought in a long manner and, you know, in a more more collaborative
calibrated approach.
Absolutely.
Well. All right, Mr. Sajjanar and Lieutenant General Sahni, thanks to both of you very much for joining us this evening on Doordarshan News and sharing your perspective with us.